The thud of my fists against the punching bag echoes through the empty gym. It's just past midnight, and I'm here alone, working out the frustrations that seem to have taken up permanent residence in my muscles. I'm Jacqueline, 35 years old, and boxing isn't just my profession, it's my lifeline. As I throw another jab, I catch a glimpse of myself in the wall-length mirror. Blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, blue eyes sharp with focus, and a body honed by years of training. But beneath the surface, I'm a mess of contradictions. Fiercely independent, yet terrified of being alone. Strong enough to knock out opponents, but still nursing the wounds from my recent divorce. I pause, breathing heavily, and wipe the sweat from my brow. The ring has always been my sanctuary, a place where the rules are clear and victory is tangible. But lately, even here, I can't escape the gnawing feeling that something's missing. My ex-husband's face flashes in my mind, and I unleash a flurry of punches on the bag. Each impact is cathartic, a physical manifestation of the anger and hurt I've been carrying. We were together for 10 years, and I thought I knew who I was, who we were. Now I'm not so sure about anything. As I slow my pace, my thoughts drift to the future. What does it hold for someone like me? I've always seen myself as straight, but now I'm questioning everything. The idea of opening myself up to someone new is terrifying, but the prospect of spending the rest of my life alone is even worse. I grab my water bottle and take a long drink, letting the cool liquid soothe my parched throat. My trainer always says that a fighter's greatest asset is their ability to adapt. But how do you adapt when the fight is with yourself? The gym feels oppressive suddenly, the silence too loud. I gather my things quickly, needing to escape the weight of my own thoughts. As I step out into the cool night air, I take a deep breath, trying to center myself. San Bernardino stretches out before me, a city of endless possibilities. Somewhere out there, life is happening. People are falling in love, chasing dreams, living. And here I am, stuck in limbo, afraid to take the next step. I start walking, no real destination in mind. The streets are quiet at this hour, but I find comfort in the solitude. It gives me space to think, to really examine the person I've become. My marriage left me with more than just emotional scars. There's a wariness now, a reluctance to trust not just others but myself. I've always been the one fighting for everyone else, my family, my ex, my career, but somewhere along the way, I forgot to fight for myself. As I round a corner, I hear music spilling out from a nearby bar. It's karaoke night, judging by the off-key rendition of a pop song floating through the air. Something about the laughter and carefree atmosphere draws me in. I hesitate at the entrance, my hand on the door. This isn't my scene. I'm more comfortable in a gym than a bar. But maybe that's exactly why I need to go in. Maybe it's time to step out of my comfort zone, to rediscover the parts of myself that got lost along the way. With a deep breath, I push open the door and step inside. The warmth and noise envelop me, a stark contrast to the quiet streets outside. As I make my way to the bar, I catch sight of a woman on stage. She's belting out a song with such passion and joy that I can't help but smile. Our eyes meet for a brief moment, and something stirs within me. It's a feeling I can't quite name. Curiosity, maybe? Interest, whatever it is, it's been a long time since I've felt anything like it. I order a drink and find a seat, my eyes drawn back to the stage. For the first time in months, I feel a spark of excitement about what the future might hold. I don't know what's going to happen next, but for once, I'm ready to find out. As the night wears on, I find myself relaxing, even enjoying the atmosphere. It's a reminder that there's more to life than the ring, more to me than just being a boxer. And maybe, just maybe, I'm ready to explore what that means. Her voice slices through the cacophony of the karaoke bar, powerful and raw, capturing everyone's attention. I can't help but admire the way she commands the stage, her brunette hair cascading down her back, swaying subtly with each note. There's an intensity in her green eyes that seems to search the room for something. And for a fleeting moment, I feel it's me she's looking for. As the song ends, the crowd erupts into applause. I notice how she accepts the cheers with a modest smile, a light blush brushing her cheeks. There's something magnetic about her. She's a healer by day, a performer by night, and undoubtedly, She has secrets tucked away, just like I do. I can't look away from her, drawn in by this warmth that radiates off her. My heart, which had become so accustomed to aches and loneliness, stirs with an unexpected flutter. In that moment, I realize I'm ready to break out of my shell, to embrace whatever it is that's lurking just beneath the surface. With a nudge of courage, I finish my drink and navigate through the crowd, finding myself standing at the front of the stage. I lock eyes with her as she steps down, and for a moment, the world around us fades into a blur. Great performance, I say, my voice steady despite my racing heart. The alcohol helps, but it's the allure of possibility that makes me bolder. Thanks, you sing? She asks, her tone casual, but the curiosity glimmers in her eyes. I shake my head, a small laugh escaping my lips. Not unless people are looking to hear an epic failure. She smiles wider, revealing a hint of mischief. I'd enjoy that. A train wreck can be entertaining. Care to join me for a duet? Her invitation hangs in the air like a challenge, and my heart races. I might just take you up on that, I reply, my own grin growing. The night melts away as we talk, sharing stories over drinks. Eva, it turns out, is a devoted physician. She took the leap into medicine to help others, driven by a sense of duty and compassion. As she speaks, I can feel her passion bubbling to the surface. It's a beautiful contrast to my more brash existence. But you shouldn't be stuck in the gym all the time, she says, her voice teasing yet sincere. Come out and sing with me. It'll be fun. Fun, huh? I'll show you fun, I reply, surprised by how easy it is to banter with her. Moments pass, and the intimacy in our conversation grows. A close friend of Eva's joins us, and our trio edges closer to the stage. An upbeat song plays, and before I can second-guess myself, I'm dragged up to join her. Despite my nerves, I let the music consume me. Eva and I lean into each other, our laughter blending seamlessly as we sing out loud, the audience cheering us on. Every smile she sends my way propels me further from my fears. It's exhilarating. As I step back, my heart races. But it's not just from the excitement of performing. Something deeper is awakening within me. Could I really be on the verge of something new? A realization starts to settle in. There's an undeniable chemistry building between us, and it's intoxicating. After the performance, we retreat to a quieter corner, the sounds of the bar fading into a distant hum. I didn't know you had it in you, she exclaims, her eyes shimmering with playful energy. You were fantastic. Yeah, well, it's not like I made a fool of myself. At least I hope not, I chuckle, feeling the flush of pride. You did great. Don't underestimate yourself. But you know, she leans in closer, the atmosphere thick with unspoken potential. You should really try to live a little more outside those gym walls. I nod, catching my breath while her words echo in my mind. For so long, I've played by the rules of my own caution, letting fear dictate my actions. But here, standing on this precipice of possibility, I feel ready to leap. The dance of attraction flows between us, tangible and electric. Each moment is layered with anticipation, a hint of what could come next. The night rolls on, and breaks between our conversations are filled with shared looks that linger just a fraction too long. As the clock ticks closer to last call, I realize we're on borrowed time. I can't ignore the pull that compels me to explore whatever this connection is. Want to get out of here? I suggest, feeling both bold and vulnerable. Yes, she answers immediately, her enthusiasm infectious. We slip out into the night, the cool air hitting us like a rush. As we stroll along the quiet streets, her laughter fills the space between us, and I can't remember the last time I felt this way. Responsive, alive, and hopeful. We stop beneath the light of a street lamp, the soft glow catching her features, making her look ethereal. Our eyes lock once again, and something shifts. I'm drawn to her, a gravitational pull that feels impossible to resist. Our faces inch closer, my heart racing with anticipation. When our lips finally touch, it's tentative yet electric. Soft at first, but it deepens. A kiss that sparks something dormant within me. It wakes up all the parts I'd long buried beneath the rubble of my past. In that moment, standing on the cusp of something uncharted, I can't help but think, this might just be the beginning. The days that follow our first kiss are a whirlwind of emotions and new experiences. Eva and I find ourselves drawn back to the karaoke bar night after night. Each visit a chance to peel back another layer of our guarded selves. The stage becomes our playground, a place where we can be free from the expectations and baggage of our everyday lives. Tonight, we're locked in a playful competition, taking turns to outdo each other with increasingly challenging songs. The crowd cheers as I belt out the final notes of a power ballad, my eyes never leaving Eva's. She grins, a mix of admiration and competitive fire in her gaze. "Not bad, champ," she says as I rejoin her at our table. "But watch this." She takes the stage with a confidence that makes my heart skip. As she launches into a complex jazz number, I'm struck by how effortlessly she commands attention. Her voice, rich and soulful, fills the room. I can't help but marvel at the way she loses herself in the music, much like I do in the ring. When she finishes, the applause is thunderous. She makes her way back to me, a slight sheen of sweat on her brow, eyes bright with exhilaration. "Looks like the doctor's got some hidden talents," I tease, pulling her close. "I'm full of surprises," she whispers, her breath warm against my ear. As the night wears on, we slip out of the bar, hand in hand. The streets of San Bernardino are quiet, save for the distant hum of traffic and the echo of our footsteps. We walk without direction, content in each other's company. "You know," Eva says, breaking the comfortable silence, "I never thought I'd find myself here, at a karaoke bar at 2 a.m. I joke, but I can sense the weight behind her words. She laughs softly. "No, I mean here, with you, opening up like this." She pauses, her grip on my hand tightening slightly. "After my last relationship ended, I swore I was done with all of this." I nod, understanding all too well. "I know what you mean. My divorce. It left me feeling like I'd never be able to trust anyone again, let alone myself." We stop beneath a streetlight, its glow casting a warm halo around us. Eva turns to face me, her green eyes searching mine. "What changed?" she asks softly. I take a moment to consider her question. I guess I realized that closing myself off wasn't protecting me, it was just making me lonely. I reach up, gently tucking a strand of her brunette hair behind her ear. "And then I met you." The kiss that follows is tender, filled with an understanding that goes beyond words. When we part, I see a vulnerability in Eva's eyes that mirrors my own. "I'm scared," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. "Me too," I reply, surprised by my own honesty. "But I think that's okay." We find a nearby bench and sit, our bodies close, seeking comfort in each other's warmth. The night air is cool, but I barely notice, too caught up in the moment. "Tell me something you've never told anyone," Eva says, her head resting on my shoulder. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight of my past pressing down on me. I sometimes wonder if I'm capable of being truly happy, if I even deserve it. Eva lifts her head, meeting my gaze. "Jacqueline," she says, her voice firm but gentle, "everyone deserves happiness, especially you." Her words hit me hard, breaking through barriers I didn't even know I had. Tears well up in my eyes, and for once I don't try to fight them. "Your turn," I say once I've composed myself. Eva is quiet for a moment, her fingers tracing patterns on my palm. "I lost someone," she finally says. "Someone I loved deeply. It broke me for a long time." I pull her closer, offering what comfort I can. "I'm so sorry," I whisper. "It's why I became a doctor," she continues. "I thought if I could save others, maybe I could make up for not being able to save her." The vulnerability in her confession takes my breath away. I realize that we're both carrying our own burdens, our own fears, but somehow sharing them makes them feel lighter. As the first hints of dawn begin to color the sky, we make our way back to my apartment. The air between us is charged with unspoken desire, but there's no rush. We have time. Inside, we move together slowly, savoring each touch, each kiss. I marvel at the softness of her skin, the curve of her hips. Eva's hands explore my body with a tenderness that makes me ache. When our lips meet again, it's different from before, deeper, more intense. I lose myself in the sensation, in the taste of her, in the soft sounds she makes. We take our time, learning each other's bodies, finding what makes us gasp and shiver. It's a dance of give and take, of vulnerability and trust. When we finally come together, it's with a passion that leaves us both breathless. Afterward, We lie tangled in each other's arms, the world outside forgotten. I trace lazy patterns on Eva's back, marveling at how right this feels. "What are you thinking?" she asks, her voice husky with sleep. I consider the question, realizing that for the first time in a long time, my mind is quiet. The doubts and fears that have plagued me for so long seem distant. "I'm thinking," I say slowly, "that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Eva smiles, pressing a soft kiss to my collarbone. "Me too," she whispers. As we drift off to sleep, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. I know there will be challenges ahead, that this newfound happiness won't erase the scars of our pasts, but for now, in this moment, I allow myself to hope, to believe that maybe, just maybe, I've found something worth fighting for. The sun peeked through the blinds, casting stripes of light across the room. I stirred awake, feeling warmth beside me. Eva was still nestled against me, her hair sprawled across the pillow like an artful mess. Her face relaxed in deep slumber, a sense of contentment wrapped around me, the ghost of our shared night still lingering in the air. As carefully as I could, I slipped out of bed, trying not to disturb her. My body slightly ached in a way that felt deliciously satisfying. A reminder of our closeness, I padded into the kitchen, my feet silent on the hardwood floor. Coffee was first on my agenda, the aroma of brewing coffee, a ritual I cherished every morning. While the coffee percolated, I stood by the window, looking out onto San Bernardino. The city was slowly waking up, the streets starting to fill with commuters, and the distant sound of morning chatter. In that moment it struck me how radically different my life had become over the past few weeks. The isolation of my previous weeks had been replaced with hope and the unknown, and I found myself embracing both. As if drawn by some cosmic force, I glanced back toward the bedroom, and my heart fluttered at the sight of Eva stirring. She stretched lazily, a satisfied smile still lingering on her lips. That smile anchored me in a way I'd never expected. "Hey, what's the plan for today?" she asked, her voice still husky from sleep. I poured 2 mugs of coffee and walked over to the bed, handing her one. "I thought we could enjoy a lazy morning. Maybe some breakfast later. I'm not quite ready to face the world just yet." She took a sip, her eyes sparkling. "Perfect, but I do have to work later. Just a few hours, though." Her admission sent a jolt through me. "What do you do again? You mentioned you're a doctor, but what kind?" "Yeah, I'm a pediatrician," she replied, biting her lip. "I spend most of my day with kids and families, trying to make those tough moments a little easier. It can be exhausting, but incredibly rewarding." I admired her passion, the way her eyes glowed as she spoke about her work. "You really care about what you do," I said, taking a sip of coffee myself. "It's important to me," she explained. "I want to make a difference, and it helps to have a balance, a little fun after all the seriousness." Her gaze drifted to me, and I felt a flutter in my stomach. It was exhilarating to see someone so passionate about life, when I had often struggled to find my footing in the wake of my past. We shared breakfast as we continued to talk, laughter filling the apartment. Our connection deepened with every story, each revelation a stepping stone on our shared path. After the last bite of my toast, I leaned back and sighed. "Your turn to pick the music," I said, glancing at the small speaker connected to my phone. Eva jumped up eagerly, hopping over to the device and flipping through the playlists. She landed on a jazzy tune, and I felt like I was transported back to that first night, the rhythm washing over us like a warm wave. We danced around the kitchen, uninhibited and joyful. The combination of our laughter and the music filled the space, scattering the morning stillness into joyous fragments. But soon, practicality crept in as the clock reminded us that her shift was approaching. "I should get ready," Eva said, her tone tinged with reluctance. "I'll drop you off," I offered, already gathering my things. I wanted to resist the urge to cling to the morning, but found it impossible. As we made our way to the hospital, I could sense an unspoken tension building between us. Excitement tinged with a hint of apprehension. When I parked, I turned to face her, the air heavy with possibilities. "So will I see you later?" Eva smiled, but there was something bittersweet in her expression. "I hope so. I can't let go of you that easily." I leaned in, stealing a quick kiss before she climbed out of the car. You better keep your phone close. I'll text you. I will, she promised, waving as she walked away. I watched her disappear through the hospital doors. The thought of her lingering in my mind. The drive back home felt oddly empty. The city bustled around me, but all I could think about was Eva. I needed to channel this energy, this newfound spark, back into my training. As I arrived at the gym, the familiar smells of sweat and determination enveloped me. I wasted no time, slipping into my routine, hitting the punching bag with a fierceness I hadn't felt in ages. Each punch echoed the emotions swirling inside me, fears, hopes, excitement. As I finished my session, my trainer appeared, his brow furrowed in concern. You're hitting harder than usual. Everything all right? Yeah, just finding my rhythm, I said, wiping my brow with the towel. He nodded, sensing my unwillingness to delve deeper. Just remember, sometimes focus on the right things is what can really give you strength. You're not just a fighter in the ring. You're a fighter in life. His words resonated with me, reminding me of my own journey. When I stepped outside, the sun hung lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the world. I felt the impending rush of evening, the anticipation of seeing Eva again. I headed home, the thoughts of what our next few days could bring blooming in my mind. I couldn't help but smile at the promise of new beginnings. My heart, once barricaded and bruised, began to recognize the rhythm of hope once more. Just as I settled on the couch, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Eva. Finished early. Can't wait to see you. A thrill surged through me. I quickly typed back, excitement bubbling over. Whatever lay ahead, whatever storms we faced, I felt ready to embrace it all, to dance through life hand in hand with her. The doorbell rang, a sound that made my heart leap. I glanced at the clock. Just a few minutes past the hour we agreed on. I opened the door, and there stood Eva, her smile as radiant as the setting sun behind her. Hey, stranger, she said, stepping into the warm glow of my apartment. Hey, yourself, I replied, taking a moment to appreciate her. She wore a simple sundress that danced around her knees, her hair catching the fading light. Are we going out? She asked, glancing down at her ensemble. I shook my head, grinning. Not tonight. I thought we might have a cozy night in. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. What's the plan? I stepped aside and gestured for her to enter fully. First dinner. I made your favorite, pasta. You really know the way to a girl's heart, she teased, moving to the kitchen as I set the table. We fell into our routine easily, chopping and stirring while playful banter flowed. I admired her as she tossed a handful of spinach into the pot, her movements fluid and graceful. Tell me more about your day, I prompted, wanting to know more about the world she inhabited daily. She leaned against the counter, her expression turning thoughtful. It was one of those days. Some tough cases, but a few wins too. There's this little girl, Ella, who started smiling again after her treatments. It reminds me of why I do what I do. Her passion was palpable, and I could hear the pride in her voice. But then her smile faded, and she continued. But there are hard days, days that make you question everything. I paused, the weight of her words sinking in. Those are the days that matter most, aren't they? She met my gaze, the vulnerability in her eyes striking deep. Yeah. It made me think about how important it is to have people in your corner, and I'm really glad you're in mine. In that moment, the air shifted around us. I stepped closer, reaching for her hand, and I'm glad you're in mine too. I think we make a pretty good team. Dinner finished, we transitioned to the living room, the atmosphere warm and cozy as the evening wore on. I grabbed a couple of blankets and settled onto the couch, and Eva joined me, tucking herself lovingly beneath my arm. What's next, movie night? She asked, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. Absolutely, I said, scrolling through my collection of films. How about a classic romance? Perfect, something we can laugh about later, she grinned. As I queued up the movie, I felt a sense of tranquility envelop us. Here we were, cocooned in our own little world, free from life's worries. We watched the film, occasionally stealing kisses during the sappy moments, allowing ourselves to get lost in the story unfolding on screen. Is it bad that I'm rooting for the other guy? Eva murmured at one point. a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "Are you serious?" I feigned shock, playfully gasping. "How could you? True love is right there." She laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But the risk, aren't we supposed to crave a little danger?" The conversation that followed spilled out as easily as the dialogue from the screen. And suddenly our dinner and a movie turned into a discussion about our biggest fears, dreams, and everything in between. Risk has always scared me, I confessed, choosing my words carefully. But meeting you feels different, like I'm finally willing to take that leap. Her eyes softened as she leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "That means a lot, especially from someone who's been through so much." The vulnerability between us thrummed with intensity, intimacy filling the space. I felt a magnetic pull, and couldn't help but kiss her again, my hand cupping her cheek as I deepened the kiss. She responded by wrapping her arms around my neck, drawing me in closer. When we finally drew back, breathless, Eva giggled softly, her cheeks flushed. "Wow, I didn't realize cozy nights in could lead to this." "Neither did I said, my heart racing, the thrill of possibility igniting within me. We settled back, content in the moment, the movie long forgotten, in the stillness that followed. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just a pause, a safe harbor on a larger journey we were meant to take together. When the credits rolled, Eva playfully slid off the couch and stretched. "Okay, now what?" I felt the spark of spontaneity and said, "Let's try karaoke at home." Her eyes lit up, the challenge igniting her spirit. "You're on. You better not hold back." With a few taps on my phone, the speaker came to life. We took turns singing, laughter filling the apartment as we belted out our favorite songs. The room transformed into our stage, the walls echoing with music and joy. At one point, I picked a song I knew was risky, an emotional ballad that resonated with everything I felt for her. As I sang, I poured my heart into the words, the vulnerability spilling from me in each note. When I finished, I found her looking at me, her expression mixed with awe and something else, an intensity that made my pulse quicken. "Wow," she breathed, "that was beautiful." "Thanks," I said, a blush creeping up my cheeks. "I think it's your turn to up the ante." Eva paused, contemplating, but then grinned as she chose a lively number, one that had us dancing around the room, twirling and laughing in the most delightful chaos. In that moment, our initial hesitation slipped away completely. We were exhilarated, unguarded, two souls celebrating life and connection, willing to embrace whatever came next. As the night wound down, we found ourselves sprawled together on the couch, the warmth of each other's bodies creating a cocoon against the world outside. I slipped an arm around her shoulders, resting my head against hers. "Just a few days ago, we were strangers," I remarked, both amazed and comforted by how quickly things had changed. "Yeah, and now look at us," she murmured, her voice sleepy but full of promise. "Look at us," I echoed, letting it sink in, the laughter, the vulnerability, the undeniable chemistry weaving our paths together. The night might be winding down, but our journey was just beginning. I realized that whatever uncertainties lay ahead, I felt ready to tackle them all, as long as we faced them side by side. The weeks flew by in a whirlwind of stolen moments and shared laughter. Eva and I fell into a comfortable rhythm, our lives intertwining with an ease that both thrilled and terrified me. We spent our evenings exploring San Bernardino's hidden gems, from quaint bookshops to hole-in-the-wall diners. Each new discovery felt like a metaphor for our relationship, unexpected, exciting, and full of promise. One balmy Saturday afternoon we found ourselves in a small art gallery downtown. Eva's hand was warm in mine as we wandered through the exhibits, our footsteps echoing in the quiet space. We paused before a large abstract painting, a riot of colors and shapes that seemed to pulse with energy. "What do you see?" Eva asked, her head tilted to one side. I studied the canvas, letting my eyes trace the bold strokes and vibrant hues. "It's like chaos and harmony all at once. Kinda reminds me of us, actually." She squeezed my hand, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I like that, two different worlds colliding, creating something beautiful." As we continued through the gallery, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting between us. The air felt charged, crackling with unspoken words and possibilities. When we stepped back out into the sunlight, Eva turned to me, her green eyes serious. "Jacqueline, I need to talk to you about something." My heart stuttered, fear and anticipation warring in my chest. "Okay, shoot." She took a deep breath. "I've been offered a position at a children's hospital in Los Angeles. It's an amazing opportunity, but it would mean moving." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "Oh," I managed, my mind racing. "When would you have to leave?" "In about a month if I accept," she said, her voice soft. "I haven't given them an answer yet. I wanted to talk to you first." I nodded, trying to process the information. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to not uproot the life we were building together. But I knew how much her career meant to her, how passionate she was about helping children. Who was I to stand in the way of that? That's incredible, Eva," I finally said, forcing a smile. "You should definitely take it. It's a great opportunity." She searched my face, her brow furrowed. "Are you sure? Because I've been thinking. Maybe you could come with me?" The suggestion hit me like a punch to the gut. Move to LA, leave behind everything I knew. My training, my gym, my entire support system. The idea was simultaneously exhilarating and terrifying. I don't know," I stammered. "That's a big step. I'd have to think about it." Eva nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Of course, I don't expect an answer right away. Just think about it, okay?" We spent the rest of the afternoon in a strange limbo, both of us trying to act normal while the weight of the decision hung over us. As the sun began to set, we made our way back to my apartment, the silence between us heavy with unspoken thoughts. Once inside, Eva turned to me, her expression vulnerable. "I know this is a lot to ask, but Jacqueline, these past few weeks with you, they've been incredible. I don't want to lose what we have." I pulled her close, burying my face in her hair. "I don't want to lose it either," I murmured. "But LA, it's so far, and my whole life is here." She leaned back, cupping my face in her hands. "I know, and I would never ask you to give up your dreams. But maybe this could be a new dream for both of us." The sincerity in her eyes made my heart ache. I wanted to say yes, to throw caution to the wind, and follow her anywhere. But the practical part of me, the part that had been hurt before, held back. "I need some time," I said softly, "to think it through. Is that okay?" Eva nodded, pressing a gentle kiss to my lips. "Of course, take all the time you need." That night, as we lay tangled in each other's arms, sleep eluded me. I stared at the ceiling, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and emotions. On one hand, the idea of starting fresh in a new city with Eva was intoxicating. We could build a life together, free from the shadows of our pasts. But on the other hand, the thought of leaving behind everything I'd worked so hard for filled me with dread. The next few days passed in a blur of indecision. I threw myself into training, pushing my body to its limits in an attempt to quiet my racing mind. But even in the ring, I couldn't escape the choice looming over me. One evening, after a particularly grueling session, my trainer pulled me aside. "What's going on with you, kid? You've been off your game all week." I hesitated, then spilled everything. Eva's job offer, the possibility of moving, my fears and doubts. He listened patiently, his weathered face thoughtful. "Sounds like you've got a tough decision to make," he said when I finished. "But let me ask you something. What scares you more? Taking the risk and possibly failing, or staying here and always wondering what if?" His words struck a chord deep within me. I thought about my life before Eva, the loneliness, the feeling of being stuck. And then I thought about the joy and excitement she'd brought into my world. The way she challenged me, inspired me, made me want to be better. As I made my way home that night, my steps felt lighter. For the first time since Eva's announcement, I felt a sense of clarity. I knew what I had to do. I found her curled up on my couch, reading a medical journal. She looked up as I entered, her smile tinged with uncertainty. "Hey, how was training?" I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. It was good, eye-opening actually. I sat down beside her, taking her hands in mine. "Eva, I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us, about LA, about everything." She nodded, her eyes searching mine. And I want to go with you," I said, the words rushing out. "I want to take this chance, to see where it leads us, because the thought of not being with you, it's scarier than any fight I've ever faced. The joy that bloomed on her face was breathtaking. She threw her arms around me, laughing and crying all at once. Are you sure? Really sure? I held her tight, feeling the last of my doubts melt away. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. As we sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and unknowns, but with Eva by my side, I was ready to face whatever came our way. Together, we would write the next chapter of our story, a story of love, courage, and new beginnings. The days leading up to Eva's move were filled with a blend of excitement and nostalgia. I threw myself into preparations, sorting through my belongings as I packed my life into cardboard boxes. Each item I touched was a memory. The leather-bound journal where I'd poured out my thoughts during the lonely nights, the faded photographs of friends I'd lost touch with, and the framed medal from my first fight. As I sorted through my things, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come since meeting Eva. Her presence in my life had shifted my perspective, ignited a spark that had lain dormant for too long. I was starting a new journey, one that promised to be as exhilarating as it was frightening, and I couldn't wait to embrace it. On the day of the move, the air was thick with anticipation. Eva had been busy packing her own belongings, her entire apartment transformed into a maze of boxes marked with labels. We were a whirlwind of activity, organizing and loading the moving truck with laughter and the occasional disagreement over what should go where. Are you sure you want to take that old lamp? I asked, holding up the gaudy piece she had picked up at a flea market years ago. It's seen better days. She grinned, eyes shining with mischief. It has character. Plus, it serves as a reminder not to take everything too seriously. I couldn't help but chuckle. Fair enough. I guess every new adventure needs a little character. Once the truck was packed and we were ready to hit the road, I took a moment to glance around her empty apartment. It felt surreal, knowing this space had played host to so many memories, both joyful and challenging. Ready? Eva asked, clutching the keys to her new life. Ready, I replied, a wave of determination washing over me as we climbed into the cab of the truck. As we drove through the familiar streets of San Bernardino, I felt a pang of nostalgia. Each landmark was etched in my memory. The gym where I threw my first punch, the cafe where I shared countless cups of coffee with friends, and the park where I had once spent afternoons in solitude. But the thought of moving forward with Eva eased the bittersweet pangs of leaving. When we arrived in Los Angeles, the city was a sprawling tapestry of vibrant lights and noise, pulsating with life. I took a deep breath, the unfamiliar energy exhilarating and overwhelming all at once. Eva's infectious enthusiasm was contagious as we navigated the bustling streets, finally pulling up in front of a modest apartment complex that would soon be our home. We did it, she exclaimed, her voice a mix of disbelief and excitement as we stepped out of the truck. The two of us tossed the first boxes into the elevator. While waiting for the doors to open, I found myself stealing glances at her. She looked so happy, so alive in this new city, and the thought filled me with warmth. You really think we can make this work? I asked, the gravity of the moment settling on me. Absolutely, she replied, her tone serious yet reassuring. We're a team, remember? We both made this choice together. Together. It was a simple word, yet it carried the weight of everything we'd been through to get to this moment. As the elevator dinged, I let my concerns slide away. We had each other, and that was enough. Unpacking became a game as we transformed our empty space into a home. I put on music, and we set to work, dancing around each other, exchanging laughter-filled insults about each other's tastes in decor. It felt refreshing, invigorating, and most importantly, it felt right. Days turned into weeks as we settled into our new routine. Eva thrived at her job. Her passion radiated in every story she brought home about her patients. As she recounted her experiences, I was reminded of my own journey, drawing strength in knowing that she was making her impact while I worked to carve out my space in the boxing community in LA. I found a local gym that welcomed me with open arms. The coaches embraced my ambition, understanding my desire to grow and push the limits. Every day I trained with a new fervor, channeling my anxieties into sweat and determination, my skills sharpening with each punch thrown. One evening after another grueling session, I returned home to find Eva sprawled out on the couch, the television flickering a rerun of a medical drama. She lit up when she saw me, but her expression quickly changed to concern as she took in the exhaustion on my face. "Long day?" she asked, her voice laced with tenderness. I sank onto the couch beside her, resting my head on her shoulder. "You have no idea," I murmured. "It's so different here. I feel like I'm barely keeping up sometimes." She wrapped her arms around me, offering warmth and support. "You're doing amazing. Remember, every fighter has to find their rhythm. You've only just started." Her encouragement bolstered my spirits, and I found solace in the connection we'd forged. We spent the evening nestled together, finding beauty in the mundane, the sound of her laughter serving as the perfect soundtrack to a life in constant motion. But as the month rolled on, there was an unexpected weight creeping back into my heart. In the quiet moments late at night, with the city humming outside our window, I couldn't shake the anxiety that loomed over me. I wanted to be a source of strength for Eva, just as she was for me. Yet, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever be enough for her in this new environment filled with bright possibilities. One evening, after dinner, I finally worked up the courage to voice my struggles. "Eva, do you ever think I'll really fit in here? That I'll be as good as you?" She paused, her gaze piercing yet soft. "Jacqueline, you have to stop comparing yourself to me. You're your own fighter. Just because I've found my footing doesn't mean you have to rush to do the same." I felt a swell of gratitude at her words, the understanding between us deepening with every shared moment. "I just don't want to hold you back." "Trust me," she laughed lightly. "If you think you're holding me back, you haven't seen me in the operating room. Now that's what I call pressure." Relief washed over me, but I couldn't shake my unease entirely. The next day, I returned to the gym with renewed determination, ready to tackle my training. But the worry began to dig its roots deeper. The following week brought an opportunity I hadn't anticipated. An amateur boxing match that could pave the way to a more competitive scene. When I got home that night, I could hardly contain my excitement. I rushed to Eva, who was hunched over a stack of medical journals. "You won't believe the news. I got an offer to fight in a local amateur match next month." Eva's eyes widened, a mix of pride and concern flickering across her face. "That's amazing. You've been working so hard. But are you sure you're ready? The competition here is tough." "I have to take the chance," I insisted. "It could be my ticket to elevate my training, maybe get a shot at something bigger." She stood, placing her hands on my shoulders, grounding me. "I believe in you wholeheartedly, but don't forget, you don't have to rush into anything. Know your limits, train smart." Her words resonated, a soothing balm on my nerves. "Thanks, Eva. I appreciate your support." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. I had a choice to make, a path to follow that felt both exhilarating and unpredictable. As I fell into bed that night, I felt the rhythms of my life settling, the warmth of Eva beside me, and the beating heart of our newest adventure ahead. Together we would face the challenges, the victories, and the uncertainties of life in a new city. And while I was stepping into the ring for competition, I was also stepping into an entirely new phase of our relationship, where love and ambition intertwined on an uncharted journey. Whatever lay ahead, I was ready to embrace it all, fighting for my dreams with all that I had. The weeks leading up to my first amateur match in Los Angeles flew by in a blur of intense training and nervous anticipation. Every day, I pushed myself harder, determined to prove that I belonged in this new world. Eva was my rock through it all, her unwavering support a constant source of strength. The night before the fight, we sat on our small balcony, the city lights twinkling below us like a sea of stars. Eva's hand was warm in mine, her presence a calming influence on my frayed nerves. "You've got this," she said softly, her green eyes reflecting the city's glow. "No matter what happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you." I squeezed her hand, grateful for her faith in me. "Thank you for everything." I couldn't have made it this far without you. The next morning dawned bright and clear. A perfect day for new beginnings. As we drove to the venue, I felt a strange mix of excitement and terror coursing through my veins. The familiar pre-fight jitters were amplified by the weight of what this match represented. Not just a chance to prove myself in the ring, but a step towards cementing my place in this new life we were building. The arena was smaller than I expected, but the energy was electric. As I warmed up in the locker room, I could hear the crowd filtering in, their excited chatter a distant hum. Eva stayed with me until the last possible moment, her presence a soothing balm on my nerves. "Remember," she said, cupping my face in her hands, "you're already a champion in my eyes. Just go out there and show them what you've got." With one last kiss, she left to take her seat, and I was alone with my thoughts. I closed my eyes, taking deep breaths to center myself. In my mind, I replayed all the training sessions, all the sacrifices, all the moments that had led me to this point. When it was time, I made my way to the ring, the roar of the crowd washing over me. As I climbed through the ropes, I caught sight of Eva in the front row, her smile bright and encouraging. I felt a surge of confidence. I could do this. The bell rang, and the world narrowed to just me and my opponent. She was good, quick on her feet with a mean right hook, but I was ready. All my training, all my determination, it all came together in that moment. Round after round, we traded blows, neither of us willing to give an inch. I could taste blood in my mouth, feel the sting of sweat in my eyes. But I pushed through. In the final round, with my muscles screaming and lungs burning, I saw an opening. I threw everything I had into one last combination, jab, cross, hook, and my opponent went down. The referee's count seemed to last an eternity. When he finally waved his hands, signaling the end of the match, the crowd erupted. I had won. Eva was the first person to reach me as I climbed out of the ring, her arms wrapping around me in a fierce embrace. "You did it," she cried, her voice thick with emotion. "I knew you could do it." In that moment, with the taste of victory sweet on my tongue and the woman I loved in my arms, I felt invincible. This wasn't just a win in the ring. It was a victory for us, for the life we were building together. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of congratulations and new opportunities. My win had caught the attention of a few local promoters, and suddenly, the path to a professional career seemed clearer than ever. One evening, about a week after the fight, Eva and I decided to celebrate properly. We dressed up and went out to a fancy restaurant. The kind of place we'd always talked about trying, but never quite got around to. As we sat across from each other, candlelight flickering between us, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we'd come, from that chance meeting in a hospital, to building a life together in a new city. It felt like a dream. "What are you thinking about?" Eva asked, her eyes sparkling over the rim of her wine glass. I reached across the table, taking her hand in mine. "Just how lucky I am to have you, to be here, to have this chance. I never thought I could have all of this." Her smile softened, her thumb tracing circles on my palm. "We're both lucky. We found each other, and we're building something beautiful together." As we finished our meal and stepped out into the warm LA night, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. We walked hand in hand down the bustling street, the city alive with possibility. "So what's next for us?" Eva asked, bumping her shoulder playfully against mine. I grinned, pulling her close. "Well, I've got my eye on a few more fights, and you've got that big surgery coming up next month. But mostly, I'm just excited to see where this journey takes us." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You know, when I first moved here, I was worried about how you'd adjust, but seeing you in that ring, seeing how you've embraced this new life, I've never been more proud to be with you." Her words warmed me from the inside out. I stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "Eva, I want you to know something. No matter what happens with my career, no matter where life takes us, you're the most important thing to me. You're my home wherever we are." Tears shimmered in her eyes as she leaned in, pressing her forehead against mine. "And you're mine." As we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms with the city buzzing around us, I felt a sense of certainty I'd never experienced before. This was where I was meant to be. This was the life I was meant to live. We continued our walk, talking and laughing, making plans for the future. I didn't know exactly what that future held. More fights, maybe a shot at a title someday. But I knew that with Eva by my side, I could face anything. As we reached our apartment building, I paused for a moment, looking up at the stars barely visible through the city's glow. I thought about all the twists and turns that had led me here, all the challenges I'd overcome. "You okay?" Eva asked, squeezing my hand. I turned to her, my heart full of love and gratitude. "Never better," I replied, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. We climbed the stairs to our home, our sanctuary in this vast city, and as I closed the door behind us, I knew that this was just the beginning. Whatever life threw our way, we would face it together. Two fighters, united in love and determination, ready to take on the world.